Hello again to you all, and welcome to this next edition in our Sunday series. There's a lovely story which you may have heard of the new pastor who moved to a church in the state of Kentucky in the United States. On his first Sunday, he decided to preach on the evils of smoking, only to discover that 1/3 of his congregation grew tobacco, and they were offended by him. So on the second Sunday, he decided to preach on the evils of gambling, only to discover that 1/3 of his congregation were involved in raising thoroughbred racehorses. On the third Sunday, he preached on the evils of alcohol, only to discover that the remaining 1/3 of his congregation were employed in the distilling industry. On his fourth Sunday, he preached on the dangers associated with deep-sea fishing in international waters. And as Kentucky is a landlocked state, he succeeded in not offending anyone. Well, having created something of a debate a fortnight ago with my theme of a time to speak, I want to turn my attention today to the theme of balance. Some years ago, I worked as a bread roundsman in Coventry. One of my colleagues at that time had been born without any toes on his feet. He coped without any problems most of the time, except in the winter when the pavements and steps were slippery. He had a great deal of trouble keeping his balance. Without any toes, we'd have poor balance. If we're going to engage in debate about Christian things, especially about things that are a bit slippery, then we must realize that at the very core of our Christian faith is revelation. In order to save us from speculation and guesswork, God in his love for us has revealed to us as much as we need to know about what he's like, and as much as we need to know about what he likes and dislikes. This revelation which God has given us can be divided up into different toes. Firstly, whenever we stand in front of someone's artwork, we can tell something about their character from what we see. If they have a rather tortured personality, or are facing great personal trauma, then it'll be communicated through their painting. If they have a stable personality and are at peace with themselves, that too will be visible on the canvas. By looking at the universe above our heads and the world of nature all around us, we're able to read something of the personality of its creator in all that we see. This is called general revelation. Anyone can read it from what we observe. God is clearly almighty to create such vastness and complexity. God is clearly wonderful to be able to create such extraordinary beauty. We could write a long list of the characteristics of God simply by looking at the created world we inhabit. But if God left it at that, then we human beings would still be living in great uncertainty. There's so much more that we need to know about God which the world of nature cannot tell us. Does God care about us? Does he love us? Does he want us to know him? Does he want to support us? Is he merciful when we do wrong? Is he forgiving? Does he answer prayers? And on the questions go. In order to answer those many questions, the Lord has given us specific revelation. This is in addition to general revelation. He's revealed himself through his dealings with individuals and people groups throughout history. The God we Christians worship is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He interacted with these men long ago and revealed something of his character to them and through them. This is a character which has not changed. He's the same God today as he was then. In fact, to think of God as someone who changes is to imagine a God who could not be depended upon, because you wouldn't know what mood he was in today, and couldn't be sure whether he'd be saying the same thing today that he said yesterday, or would say again tomorrow. This God of history has consistently revealed himself through his dealings with his chosen people over thousands of years. That's why we still read that history in the Old Testament. But God didn't stop revealing himself through the twists and turns of history of a particular people. He also revealed himself through prophets whom he inspired. So, Moses meets God at the burning bush and asks him to reveal his name to him. He receives the most extraordinary answer. "I am who I am," replies the Lord. The I am has spoken, the eternal God, the all-sufficient God, the God of the now, the God of today. This is the same God whom Moses meets on Mount Sinai, and from whom he receives the Ten Commandments. Moses, the prophet, brings not just a fuller revelation about the person of God, but also a moral framework that we humans are to live by. This was the ministry of all the prophets of God throughout history. They were to remind us of God's revelation of himself and the moral framework that he has revealed to us. We are to judge whether a prophet is true or false by their faithfulness to this revelation, which has already been given. But God didn't stop revealing himself through the era of the prophets. He wanted to be absolutely sure that we could be confident of what he had already revealed. The letter to the Hebrews puts it like this: "In the past, God spoke to our forefathers through the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days he's spoken to us by his Son." If we'd been in any doubt as to the accuracy of what the prophets had said, we now have confirmation that they were true, as Jesus brings us the complete and final revelation of God, his character and his ways. He confirmed the authority of his teachings through his miracles and supremely through his resurrection. This man, Jesus, was true in all he said and taught and did. It's a common misunderstanding to hear people suggest that the God of love of the New Testament that Jesus revealed has in some way put the God of anger of the Old Testament in his place, and that God has in some way been changed or re-educated by the teachings of Jesus. But Jesus said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law and the prophets. I've not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." But God hasn't stopped revealing himself after Jesus had come and taught and died and rose again. He continues to reveal himself today to us through the work of his Holy Spirit. Jesus foretold that the Holy Spirit would lead us into all the truth, and it's still happening today. The Holy Spirit does that work secretly and inwardly in the hearts and lives of all who will receive Jesus as their Lord. This is the coming alive moment that so many have experienced of the Lord at work in their souls. We know it so well if it's happened to us. But there's one last toe on the foot of God's revelation of himself to us, and that is logic and reason. Jesus was engaged in a tricky debate with the Sadducees, who were religious, but who believed that when you're dead, you're dead. He responded to them with this devastating statement: "Are you not in error? Because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God, you are badly mistaken." In their belief, that there is no afterlife. The Sadducees were actually denying something that God had already revealed, that there is an afterlife. And they were denying the power of God to raise the dead. A serious mistake. You see, we are not free to deny revelation, only to wrestle to understand it and to live in the context of it. An illustration I often use is to reveal something of myself to you. I do not like smoked haddock. I don't like the smell of it, nor the appearance of it, nor the taste of it, so I won't eat it. That's revelation. Unless I'd told you that, you wouldn't have known that about me. So you're not free to deny that revelation, because I know me, my likes and my dislikes. We are not free to deny God's revelation of himself, his likes and dislikes, nor to deny the revelation of his will for us, because he knows himself, and he wants us to know him too. That's how revelation works. God bless you as you wrestle with that revelation of himself.